السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد, imagine that you are a man in his teen years, let's say like between 16 to 25, teen years until what comes after that a little. And you're living in this age, and you obviously, because you're a man, you want to get married. طيب. And then you go to a girl, and you, of course, you don't go to her, you go to her father, and you tell him that, I want to marry your daughter. طيب. You know her from the masjid, you know her father from the masjid, and you know that he has a daughter in your age, so because you want to get married, you go and you ask him to see if you could go and get married to her, inshallah azza wa jal. So what do? You go to him, you go to her father, and you tell him that I would be interested in your daughter. I would be interested in seeing if she would want to get married or so. طيب. And then he comes to you and says, طيب, what have you studied? And you're like, bro, I'm 17. What do you mean, what did I study? So then he tells you, then what car do you have? So you tell him, bro, I'm 17. What do you mean, what car do I have? Or, of course, you're not going to tell him, bro, but you get my point. Or you go to him when you're 23 or so, which is already pretty late. But okay, let's say we go to him when you're 23, and you want to ask him for his daughter. So he tells you, what have you studied in college? So you tell him, wallahi, things are tight with me. I couldn't really go to a university because in the place where I live, all of them were expensive. Or I started and then I didn't want to continue because of the free mixing and so on, and I would fear that I would fall into something that doesn't please Allah Azza wa Jalla or so. Or it doesn't even have to be that far. It could be that you're done with it. طيب. If you would say that you didn't finish it, or you are taking a break from it because of the free mixing and so on, you want to get married first so you can protect yourself and so, then you will hear the word of, طيب, how will you feed my daughter then? How will I know that you will take care of her? So then what does he say? So then what do you say? So you say, I will try my best, and Allah Azza wa Jal promised that He will if those who are young and they get married, if they're poor, then Allah will enrich them and so. طيب. So you tell him that, and he looks at you as if you're speaking Chinese. Or if you told him that, I actually did finish university and I finished this degree, then it's going to stop at what do you work, how much do you make, and what car do you drive. And also, of course, your apartment, where it is, how big it is, if you have the latest tech, and so on. And if all of those boxes are checked, which is, the chance of that is like 3%, you know, I made that number up, but, you know, then, guess what? You're still not done. طيب. Why? Because he could still look at the house and say, wallahi, you know, this house is just, I don't like the color of the walls. So what? You need to go change the color. But the car, wallahi, the car, you know, the car is 6 years old. That's a little too old. Why don't you try to get a brand new car, or at least a used car from like a year ago? I think you get my point here. So this message, I'm sure that a lot of those who are listening to this, they can relate to what I'm saying, or they have experienced this themselves, or they have had, they know about people who have experienced this. They, you know, had friends who have experienced this, and so on. But my message here wasn't to you, because you already know what I'm talking about. In fact, I could probably interview you and record a 6-hour interview with you on this topic. So you're not the person who this message is for. This message is for that father of the akhawat. يعني, if you were going to sell your car, طيب, and you would buy the best car in the world, he would still come and find something in the car that he doesn't like, that he wants to change. طيب, or, and يعني, don't give more examples here, because you get my point. So as I was saying, the message is for what? The message is for the fathers of these akhawat. Now, to those fathers, I don't know if any father of يعني akhawat will be listening to this, but you know, if there is, then Allah musta'an. And if not, then it's probably just the ikhwa who are affected by this, and they want to know how to get out of this thing. So this is the problem when we leave the deen. It's the problem when we leave the deen and go to the يعني issues of these stuff of the jahiliyyah that have nothing to do with Islam. Now to this father, when you got married, and this father is going to be what? If he's young, he'll be like 40. If he's older, he'll be like 60. يعني in that range. طيب. Recall when you got married. Do you think that you could have gotten married to your now يعني to the person who is now your wife? Do you think you would have been able to get married to her if her father would have acted like you do now? Of course that will be a no. There's no need to even ask. طيب, now this same father, after 3 years of rejecting literally every guy who came to his daughter through the halal way, either one of two things occurs, or it could occur both. يعني. One is, of course, better than the other. The easier one is that he comes and says, wow, my daughter is getting old and she's still not married, this is not good. This would be bad, very terrible, very bad, of course, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's not as bad as the other one. The other one is that he finds out the difficult way by other ways. And he basically, that his daughter comes home one day with a child, okay? I think that is the easiest way to get across what I'm trying to say here. طيب. And then when that occurs, then he comes and says, wallahi, why you need to, Why did you fall for a guy? You need to control yourself, you know, this and that. طب ما يا حبيبي, don't you think that if you wouldn't have rejected like 60 guys who came to her, you would have, do you think that would have occurred? Don't you know that you took that sin as well? Of course, this is saying that the ones that came to her were good men, you know, not if he rejected them for real reasons yet. But you know that your daughter, when she hit puberty, that she now خلاص, she now is not your little girl anymore, but rather she is now يعني a woman يعني. طيب. It's your problem. Yeah, yes, of course, it's her problem as well. I'm not trying to say that, you know, if your parents are not allowing you to get married, then go and do haram. No, but I'm saying it is very largely his issue. Yes, of course, she gets sin as well. We're not denying that without a doubt, يعني, but he definitely also gets it, because he was the one who stopped her from getting the halal. طيب. And when you stop someone from getting the halal, then, you know, and most times he will go and try to get it through the haram. طيب. Now the other thing I want to speak about is what is another thing that proves how in a terrible place we are, which is that if you now come and actually look at, you know, like a guy who, you know, he is religious, يعني, inshallah, we see that he is a good guy. He doesn't have to, you know, he doesn't have to be like a student of knowledge or a big like scholar or so, but yeah, at least he has read like basic, he has studied. I'm sorry about the cars. I'm gonna try to go on the other side. Right, so at least basically he has studied like basic mutun. He knows tawheed, he knows the meaning of la ilaha illallah. Sorry. طيب. He knows how to pray correctly, the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we will make a video about, inshallah azza wa jal. He knows how to make wudu correctly. He you know, all of these things. But he's poor. Oh, he doesn't have a house with 17 rooms and 6 bathrooms. Oh no, terrible. What do we do now? You know, this is so bad. Or even worse, he has money, but not as much as he would want. So what do we do? Do we say that, you know, he might not be the best in shape, he might not be in the best shape in terms of financial stuff now, but inshallah ta'ala he will change? Or do we say a'udhu billah? Nah, of course we say a'udhu billah. طيب. Now let's take another scenario, which is that a guy who he doesn't know tawheed, he hasn't studied Thalat al-Usul, he memorizes Surah al-Fatiha and Surah al-Ikhlas and Surah al-Falaq, طيب, and he makes mistakes in them. Not to say, you know, that يعني, but I guess you get my point yet. You get what I'm trying to say, inshallah azza wa jal. So, you know, a guy basically he smokes and he you know, does, yeah, right? Like, and he comes to your daughter, but he's rich, he's really rich. He has that house with 17 rooms and 6 bathrooms. What do you do? Do you, number one, choose to say a'udhu billah, or number two, choose to say, yeah, and he will change inshallah for the better, he will start to pray, he will leave smoking? Of course, in this case, it is also number two. But in this case, number two is the wrong option. I know don't know if you guys like my way of speaking, but I like to like over dramatize stuff. But this is a pretty big issue. This is a pretty big issue. When a guy came to you who's rich, but he doesn't pray, you're like, inshallah ta'ala, Allah will guide him. But when someone pious, bi'idhnillahi azza wa jal, came to you, who wanted to protect himself from from sins, who doesn't have a lot of money, you rejected him. Why? This shows that for you, money is more important than his deen. If he's rich and my daughter starts to smoke because of him, or starts to dance at clubs because of him, billah, then that's okay. At least he can take care of her. But if he will inshallah ta'ala encourage her to pray and encourage her to fast, and they will pray qiyam al-layl together and so on, but he's not rich, a'udhu billah. Allah musta'an.